Coming to you from the mountains and the plain, the only conservative voices brave enough to push back. This is the Conservative Daily Podcast with Joe Otto.
That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance. And now your hosts, Joe Otto and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to another edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. My name is Max McGuire.
And this is Joe Otto.
And today we're going to be talking about something that came to light yesterday. Pretty serious. The allegation that Joe Biden is, using a teleprompter during his live interviews. Now that's a pretty serious accusation. Now there's one thing to use a teleprompter during a formal speech, and no one has any problem with that. If you're giving a speech and you want to stay on message rather than looking down and reading, it makes sense to have a teleprompter on your left or on your right. It's the issue of during live interviews, because it raises two very, very, very serious questions. Is he getting the answers, the questions in advance? And
are
two,
they his answers?
Are they his answers? Is someone feeding him the answers? Because it could be one of two ways. They could get the questions in advance and have the answers prepared, or they could have a whole bank of answers for all possible questions, and based on the question that they hear, they could feed him the right answer in the teleprompter. So I'm going to play you why we're talking about this, because it's something that happened just yesterday, I believe. Yesterday or the day before. It was Joe Biden, basically. It's funny. He's reading the teleprompter, you can tell, and he's talking about Venezuela, but he accidentally reads, I don't know what you call them, the stage directions. Let's go ahead and play cut 3.
What's the president doing? Look, Venezuela's top-line message is President Trump's policy is an abject failure.
So he read top-line message. So whoever wrote that answer into his teleprompter basically said top-line message, probably in parentheses, and he read it. He read the stage directions. He read the instructions that he's not supposed to say. It's let's play it again for anyone who's just joining us now so you can hear it. This is Joe Biden, I believe it was yesterday, during a live interview talking about Venezuela.
He's a talking head.
He's reading the stage directions to him. Let's go ahead and play again, cut 3.
What's the president doing? Look, Venezuela's top-line message is President Trump's policy is an abject failure.
So they're trying to convey to him that his top-line message should be this. But he, reading, Joe, have you seen Anchorman?
I have.
So there's a part in Anchorman where Ron
Burgundy... Do we have that cut? Or can we play it?
I thought I
Are we allowed to play that cut?
I might not.
Oh, do you have it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do. Let's play cut 13.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for all of us here at Channel 4 News. You stay classy, San Diego. I'm Ron Burgundy.
Damn it! Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
That's what it feels like. So I have to tell you, that's one of my favorite scenes from Anchorman. I have to tell you that because we need to make this fair use. I don't want to steal anyone's content. I love that because it actually tells how newsrooms actually operate. The talent reads the teleprompter, and whatever you put in that teleprompter, they will read. Maybe not to that extent.
Talking heads.
But Joe Biden is one of those people. He is one of those people who will read whatever you put into it, even if you're just putting in notes, right? Top line talking points. He's like, top line. Joe, have you ever seen anything like this?
Yeah, we just watched it. It was in a movie.
Yeah, oh yeah, obviously in a movie.
So I've seen something like it, but yeah, it's well, that's what we're dealing with as a comedy. Joe Biden. There's nothing there, right? They not only had to take the skull off and deep dig into his brain, but there's just nothing left. There's nothing. He's
had 2 brain surgeries. Mm-hmm. He's had not one but 2 surgeries where they took his top off and went in there and played around.
Yeah.
I
Play it
mean,
around.
the media was running with the fake news story that Donald Trump had mini strokes. Joe Biden actually had to go in for, like, real strokes. And like, oh no, Donald Trump is suffering from these secret mini strokes. Meanwhile, their candidate of choice is up there speaking gibberish from the teleprompter. We have another one of those cuts. Let's go ahead and, which one is it? We're going to play cut 4. This was from his big speech. His big speech this week. Let's play cut 4.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it.
I just can't. It's like a train wreck in slow motion. It is, it's like I play with my fire truck, and my fire truck, Max, fire truck, play with. We need to play. If we did that for an entire hour, I wonder what people would actually think.
And I want to make sure everyone knows, we don't read teleprompters.
No.
Yeah, there are times where we get slipped up, where we're talking faster than we can think. That happens. But we're not reading a teleprompter during this. Joe Biden has to read a teleprompter, not just for his prepared remarks, as we're about to show you, also for his live interviews.
All right, well, let's slow down for just 1 minute if we could, and just tell people to share, right? So you need to share this podcast, right? It's important that people actually see this message. This is a man that is running for the president of the United States, right? The president of the free world. Now, it wouldn't be a free world if it was up to them. So keep in mind that he's running for the president of the free world, but he doesn't want us to be free. He wants us to be enslaved and brought into some communist, Marxist, leftist ideology. So, but you need to share it. Share this message. Hit share, and let's have a conversation.
Yeah. Hit the share button, because what we just showed you from that speech, the mainstream media, Fox did, but CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, they cut that part out. They're only editing the coherent sentences from his teleprompter speeches. They're not airing in their broadcasts. They're editing out the gibberish. So we need you to hit share. Yeah. Please do hit the share button today, because we're going to show you things that the mainstream media doesn't want people to see. So our job, with your help, is to get this in front of as many people as possible.
Hey, Frank.
Because they deserve to see
Franklin
this.
says he can't share. So go back to the classical version of Facebook if it won't let you share.
Yeah, if you won't let you share, you might have to go to classical version of Facebook.
And then share.
Or just look around, refresh. But hit the share button. Plenty of people are sharing, so it is possible. You might just have to refresh your browser or go into the old version of Facebook.
Yeah, so my point is... Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead. No.
Well, I want to set the stage and let everyone know that this isn't a conspiracy theory. Joe Biden uses a teleprompter. I want you to put up, Mr. Producer, image number 1. This is a picture taken from Joe Biden's... You can see... Oh, no, put it back on screen. We got to leave it up there.
There we go.
That's him in his basement setup.
I want to tell you this thing on the right is a teleprompter.
Yep, the thing on the right is a teleprompter. So I want to explain to everyone how a teleprompter works before we get into this, because you can see it's right there. Many people don't know a teleprompter because they've never been around one. Let's go ahead and put up image number 3. Image number 3. This is what a teleprompter typically will look like. You have the camera with a shroud over it, and then there is a piece of glass or some other kind of reflective material put at a 45-degree angle. And what it's doing is there's a tablet or a computer screen, an LCD screen, something below it that's projecting up the text. They have to project it in reverse, mirror image, so that when it bounces off that 45...
I just lost Max. I think everyone else can hear me. But I lost Max. What just happened? Max, you there?
Okay, am I back now?
I think you're back. Yes, you're back.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, we lost Max there for a minute.
That wasn't me. I could still see and hear everything, so something got frozen on my end. That's annoying. Okay, let's put up image number 2. So what I was basically explaining, you missed it. No, image number 2. So this is how it typically works. You have the camera, there's a shroud over it, there's a piece of glass at a 45-degree angle, and that glass is reflecting the teleprompter, which is actually under the camera. Yeah. So the person sitting there is able to see, you can see that green line, that is the light from the text that's being reflected to them. but that doesn't come across in the actual video recording. So it lets them look like they're looking into the camera, but they're actually reading text that is being projected just in front of the lens of the camera. Really tricky how that works. Interesting scientifically, like with all the way that light works. Really interesting, but that's how a teleprompter works. So we can take that off now.
And the reason why the teleprompter moves up, by the way, is it actually concentrates on, if you read something that's on the screen, it'll actually move with you reading the screen.
Yeah.
Or someone can control it behind. I'm actually staring at one that's in our room right now. I mean,
but we're not using it.
But I'm not using it. It is blank, and there's no iPad. But I am looking at one.
You can do it two ways. You can either set it up for a speed where it'll just scroll at a constant speed, or you have someone with like a little clicker, and they're basically moving up and down as you're reading.
Yeah.
So we're going to show a bunch of clips today of what it looks like when Joe Biden's reading his teleprompter. His bluffs, him yelling at his staffers to move the text up and down during his interviews, not during speeches, during his interviews. And we're also going to zoom in on Joe Biden's eyes, because one of the ways you can tell someone's reading a teleprompter is you can see their eyes start shifting left and right. Now, that's an exaggeration. The closer the teleprompter is to you, the more pronounced that eye left to right movement is, right? If you're far away, it's very hard to tell. But we're going to also zoom in on Joe Biden's eyes just to show you that he is reading text in front of his eyes during very important live interviews. But before we get to that, I want to play this, because Donald Trump called him out for it this week. He called him out during his New Hampshire rally. Let's play cut one.
And how about the questions asked by Anderson Cooper yesterday? Anderson Cooper, he's interviewed me a lot over the years, and I always got along with him, but they were tough interviews. Did you hear the questions? And Biden kept looking down. I think he was reading the answers off a teleprompter. Right? I think he was reading the answers off a teleprompter. And that's happened before. And how about David Muir of ABC? He's a nice guy, right? How soft were those questions?
So he's complaining about the softballs. Let's play the clip. This isn't the CNN clip that he's talking about, but this is another clip from this week. Anyone just joined, because we just had a bunch of people join the stream. This is what's kind of prompting this whole episode today. This is Joe Biden giving a live interview, and he's reading the stage directions, the little words in parentheses that his staff has put into his teleprompter. Let's go ahead and play cut 3 one more time.
What's the president doing? Look, Venezuela's top-line message is President Trump's policy is an abject failure.
So, again, anyone just joining, we'll play that again, because as we keep picking up people, we want them to see what this is all about. That whole clip is just, they probably don't have that question in advance. So they have a whole bit of talking points for every possible question. So they've put that in the teleprompter, and basically instead of actually writing out what he's supposed to say, they just said top-line message, probably semicolon or whatever, and then they say what he's supposed to say. But
we do the same thing when we're doing recordings for different events. We'll do that. We'll hey, here's top line message. That's common in that environment.
Yeah, but it's not common during live interviews. It's not common at all.
Can you imagine somebody going at their keyboard, going just trying to stay on topic? Hey.
If you notice, when Joe Biden is doing these press conferences, he's also making sure that he's behind the podium. I don't have the video for it, but yesterday he actually took questions, and towards the end, he was going to walk away, and he got a question from Ducey, one of Fox's reporters, and Joe Biden was going to start answering it, but then he said, no, wait, let me get behind the podium, and he walked behind the podium because he has teleprompters on one side or another, and people can feed him the words he's supposed to be saying. It's
how scary!
Really
how scary is that, by the way? No, guys and gals, how scary is that that you carry around? All right, let's just call it the suitcase, right? The nuclear suitcase, the football, nuclear football.
Yeah.
You're carrying that around, and somebody says, "Mr. President, we have to press the button," and he goes, "Where's my teleprompter?" All right. Yes, we need the nuclear suitcase. We need it. Right? I mean, that's really what we're talking about. Nuclear. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about someone that can be fully controlled, right, by a deep state. You could say the deep state doesn't exist. There is an underlying, we talked about it yesterday, 9 million federal employees, 23 million state employees, right, government employees. you know, a lot of those people don't do a lot of work. They just don't. I mean, there are people that do good work in the government, right? But I promise you, we could take that 32 million people, you know, cut it in half, get down to, you know, 16 million. Oh, look, I did math. 16 million people, and be just as efficient and not be as bloated in our government. But, you know, here's a guy that wants to run for president that can't answer simple questions. He can't.
And we've seen what happens when he's not using a teleprompter. There's a clip. I wish I know we were going to be talking this way, but there's a clip during the campaign trail where he gets a question from someone that he doesn't like, and he says, "Listen here, fat." He just calls him fat, like a noun.
Yeah.
Like, not like you are fat. He says, "Hey, listen, fat." Where he calls the girl a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
I've never heard that before. I mean, that's a new one. I mean, I don't even know if I could. What does he call him again?
A lying dog-faced pony soldier. No one knows. But when Joe Biden isn't on teleprompter, he goes wildly off message.
Yeah.
Why? It's just true. So I understand him wanting to give a speech with the teleprompter. No one says that that's not okay. Right? It'd be nice if he spoke from the heart every now and then, but it's completely fine to give a speech from a teleprompter where you're at a podium, teleprompter on your right and on your left, and you're giving your speech. But it's when they set up his basement studio, and let's go ahead and put up image number 1 up on the screen again. When they set up his basement studio to include a teleprompter, which you can see right there, that's when he's doing his live interviews, when he basically boosts his feed to a local news channel, right? Or he's doing something on Zoom where he's doing a teleconference. He is being fed what he's supposed to say. There is not a minute in his basement interviews and his basement live streams where he isn't being fed. Now, there are times where the teleprompter breaks, and we're going to show that, where he's getting freaked out over it, where he has to start looking down at his notes because the teleprompter is not working. But he always is on teleprompter. I want to play this because this is something that you can tell. There's a couple tells. I've been watching a lot of Joe Biden footage. There's a couple tells to know when he is reading a teleprompter.
One, he actually makes sense half the time.
Well, not including that. His eyes get all squinty because he's trying to read. I don't know if you can tell I'm squinting really bad right now. His eyes get all squinty. You can barely see the pupils of his eyes. Now, some people have said that he might be on some kind of performance-enhancing drug, such as an amphetamine, which has historically been used to treat people with Alzheimer's. Not saying that, just saying some people have said it. That would dilate your pupils and make it hard to keep your eyes completely open. But that's not a theory that we're going to posit. We're not going to promote it because it's unproven. Right. But people are saying it. He's squinting, I think, because he can't read the text. So that's the one way. The second way is you can see all of a sudden he sits up and then he starts leaning over to one side as he's squinting. That's the other thing.
He's chasing the words.
Well, no, it's like, I'm reading the teleprompter. That's the other tell. And then the third tell is when he loses track. He says, I'm taking too much time. I'm rambling on. Or, I don't want to talk about this. He gives some kind of excuse for why he shouldn't be forced to finish the statement that he started but was unable to finish. So I want to play a clip showing that last bit where he says, I'm taking too much of your time. Let's go ahead and play cut 5. This is hard to watch.
Lonnie knows I believe this every fiber of my being. We're posed.
We're posed.
What I propose is it can be done. I think we're in a position to really make it happen. And my team and your team are already working closely together to light up the path forward here. Critical laws like the PRO Act to strengthen collective bargaining. On politics like prevailing.
See the lean?
And look, I guess I'm taking too much time, but you know.
All three of the tells were in that one video. It's the squint, it's the sit up, he starts leaning, and then when he can't actually answer the question or finish the thought, he says, I'm taking up too much of your time. I mean, did you see it? All the tells were in there.
Look, there's another tell. He looks like an empty shell.
Yeah.
He looks like an empty
shell.
shell.
Like a puppet.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like anyone that is actually answering that. I mean, there's no passion behind what he says, and he constantly goes, look, he's always making excuses. He never even finishes a thought.
Only when
he gets halfway through
his mouth moves faster than his brain can process.
Which is all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone,
I just want to see.
We're showing parts of these speeches that the mainstream media doesn't want people to see. Hit that share button. Let's break 1,000 people today. 1,000 people watching at the same time.
I want to see. I want to see a debate. You know why Nancy Pelosi doesn't want him to have a debate? Because that would be a disaster. He would start talking about shoes and eating licorice, and maybe smelling
something.
You smell so good, Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi's not even here.
The fear has always been that he would have an ear monitor in.
Yeah.
Right. That's always been the fear that he needs people to feed him answers.
Yeah.
And we saw that during the Democrat debates. Not that he had an ear monitor, but that they told him, okay, remember this, remember this. He would run out and he'd write things on his notepad in between the breaks, and that's what he would use. So that's when he said, if you want to support my campaign, go to Joe 30330. Right? He was told that that's the number that they should text, but he didn't remember what that was all about, so he just read it as if it was a website.
So
he needs to be told what to say.
Absolutely needs to be told what to say, but I forgot what I was going to say. I just got Joe Biden.
You got Joe Biden.
Hey, listen, I was going to tell people where they could go to support Joe Biden. You know where you can go to support Joe Biden? Antifa.com. Yeah. Oh, that's so great. And by the way, if you can't just do a redirect on it. Right? You can actually put a DNS block in if you don't want Antifa.com to come to your site.
Yeah.
You can do that.
But they don't. They want
They want Antifa.com to go to JoeBiden.com. I just want to point that out. That Joe Biden is literally sanctioning a terrorist group and saying, look, if you go to Antifa.com, it's the same thing as going to Joe Biden.
It funnels right to his donation.
Think about that. Think about that. JoeBiden.com is Antifa.com.
Yeah, they're one and the same. Couple people saying they're late to the party. I want to play the clip again. It's short. This is why we're talking about this today. This was a clip from Joe Biden's interview this week where he accidentally reads the instructions in the teleprompter that his staff are feeding him to answer a live interview question. One more time, we'll play cut 3.
What's the president doing? Look, Venezuela's top-line message is President Trump's policy is an abject failure.
Top-line message, top-line message. Okay.
Can I ask you a question? What is Venezuela doing that I should be listening to Venezuela about anything? I'm just saying, right? I mean, let's just talk about Venezuela.
That's why. I don't think that he anticipated getting a question about Venezuela because it's so out there, right?
Yeah.
It's so out there as not like top of mind for most people nowadays, which is why I think they just fed him talking points, like the top line talking points, and he accidentally read it in the teleprompter. I want to play this because this is another clip showing that when he starts losing track and he starts talking faster than he can read the words, he says, oh, I should just stop talking. Let's play cut 6.
Look, going to fight for, this is all about our grandkids, and we're just talking about our grandkids for our families, and hammered by superstorms and pollution, and for upside, the upside of this is there's good jobs out there. We're going to be able to create a lot of good jobs. But I should stop talking now.
I should stop talking. You see how it's two different trains of thought. He's talking about superstorms, and then he starts going to we have good jobs. He realizes that he's completely
can't finish
off
the thought.
prompter.
He can't finish.
So he
the thought.
has to say, "I should just stop," so that his handler can use the little remote control.
No, I bet you.
Back to where
all right, everyone. This is what happened. Let me just tell you what happened. What happened is that the teleprompter guy was like, "Just stop talking." And he read, I need to stop talking. I'm sorry, I've been told that I have to stop talking. Please just stop talking. I need to stop talking.
That's not a possible joke. I want to play that clip again, but I want to zoom in on his eyes. And I want you to watch his eyes. It's a little bit harder to see during this clip, but you can tell if you look closely enough, you can tell that the pupils, there's a little bit of movement left to right. And that's what happens when he's reading the teleprompter because he's reading the script left to right. It's very hard to tell because he's not that close to the teleprompter, but you can notice it. Let's play cut 15.
Look, going to fight for, this is all about our grandkids, and we're just talking about our grandkids for our families, and hammered by superstorms and pollution, and for upside, the upside of this is there's good jobs out there. We're going to be able to create a lot of good jobs. But I should stop talking now.
I should stop
talking. Were you able to see? It's very subtle in that clip. It's left, right, and I didn't even realize it when I was cutting that up. But he also starts leaning out of camera, out of my little zoomed-in frame, because he's reading. When he reads, he sits up and he starts leaning away, almost like he's falling over. He's putting all of his energy into reading that he forgets to maintain his balance. That's one of my theories. But we have another cut that we'll play later on, a zoom in into Joe's eyes that I think is a little bit easier to tell. But that's what he does. When he realizes he's getting off prompter, he says, "I just, whatever. Just I've talked too much."
Hey, we have a troll that actually thinks that Biden's good. I missed the point. Oh, where is she? Oh, she left. I guess she didn't like it.
Yeah, I've been banning some trolls. So
let him in.
No. Troll Patrol is great. We've banned close to 300 trolls in the last 2.5 weeks.
Come on,
Patrol is
I like trolls. Trolls make it interesting.
No.
Come on,
you don't feed the trolls.
Let the trolls in.
So hit the share button, everyone, if you haven't already. We're getting through this. We're covering how Joe Biden uses teleprompters, not just during his big speeches, but during live interviews, because he's being fed the answers, either because they have the questions in advance or they have basically written answers for every possible question and are feeding him based on what he's being asked. So this is the next clip. It was from a couple months ago. Joe Biden gestures to his teleprompter operator to move the text up and down. Let's go ahead and play cut 7.
And in addition to that, we have to make sure that
I can't do it. This is gonna make me cry.
Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that.
Yeah, so I've talked about it. Let me just go.
Let's
right?
go over here.
So those are multiple tells. He starts leaning a little bit, but he's also he gestures to the guy like, "Oh, lift it up," because the text had gone too far down. The text had moved faster than his brain could process it. So he gestures for them to lift it back up, and then he says, "Oh, well, you know, let's just talk about something else," because he can't get back on prompter.
Hey, can we get the one where Biden actually goes to give his wife a hug, and even she's uncomfortable with the hug?
I don't know what I'm
talking about? Oh, it's great.
I know.
They go to embrace, and she's like, "Ooh,
yeah.
don't."
There's
touch
also
me.
one where he confuses his wife and his sister. That's a very funny one. We don't have that one though, because today we're just talking about teleprompters. We have all these videos on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel if you want to check it out. All the signs of Joe Biden's mental decline.
We could build our own Anchorman just with Joe Biden. I just want to be really clear. We could build a Joe Biden Anchorman moment, and people would watch it, and they would laugh the entire time. If he was not running for president, we would all laugh about it.
Here's a clip of Joe Biden mid-interview telling his handlers to put that back on the teleprompter. Let's go ahead and play cut 8. Cut 8.
You don't have a cut 8?
You have a cut 8.
There's a cut 8. See, this is what happens when Josh goes on vacation.
This is what happens when Josh goes on vacation.
It's all right. Evan does good. He's going to actually come in here later and be like, you know, I had this all done. What's that? He's finding it. All right, let's go.
Okay, there's cut 8. So I'll explain it while he's finding it. So this is Joe Biden having an interview with the governor of Pennsylvania. It's supposed to just be an honest conversation, and you can hear him, kind of as an aside, tell his handlers to put that back on. Let's play cut 8.
Look, one of the things that that I think is really important is that we somehow put that back on. There's somehow that we're in a situation where we
put that back on. So you've got to be kidding me!
He's a stuttering mess, where he's looking down his notes like, what do I talk about? What do I talk about? He starts trying to talk, and he says it not to Tom Wolfe. He's saying it to someone else running his teleprompter. Put that back on.
Yeah.
Telling them, put it back on my teleprompter, what I'm supposed to be saying, because I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying. This isn't a big speech. This is supposed to just be a comfortable interview, person to person.
Yeah.
And he needs a teleprompter just to ask them questions or answer questions. It's really sad. This
is our government, by the way. This is what Trump is actually disrupting. He's disrupting all of this. And he's not just you know, when a guy walks in the door and he looks around and he doesn't have a friend, and that's really what's happened. Like President Trump won, and he looked around And both the left and the right, people that are on staff and that represent conservatives, that represent liberals, that are Democrats, Republicans, they both froze for a moment. And they said, oh my, what have we done? Like, what we are actually dealing with someone that's going to clean up our mess, right? That's literally going to push us all out. He's going to solve problems. And I want to tell you that when you solve a problem, you eliminate chaos, right? And you eliminate opportunity. See, there's opportunity in chaos. It's a saying that we've said in business for a long time. There's opportunity in chaos. If you can eliminate the chaos, there's a good chance you can actually solve the problem. And why they say that, Trump is creating chaos and it's because they want chaos.
Yeah.
And if that's not true, then why over the last 20 to 30 years have we had nothing but chaos, right?
You want to know how much chaos there is now? Joe Biden, you talk about how Trump got into office, he has no friends, not in the Republican establishment, not in the Democrat establishment. Today, or was yesterday or today, Snyder, the former governor of Michigan, came out and endorsed Joe Biden. Democrats are freaking out because he's a Republican. You think that they'd be happy about that. They're freaking out because Snyder is the one responsible for changing the water system, which ruined Flint's water.
Yeah.
So Joe Biden's rolling out these bipartisan endorsements, and he just rolled out an endorsement from the person responsible for ruining Flint's water. That's how much chaos we're talking about. Okay, we're sitting at 820, 830
right, if everybody
people
shares
watching simultaneously.
We will be able to beat Joe Biden's biggest day.
Hit that share button. I want to beat the biggest audience that Joe Biden's ever had, which is probably 40. We've probably already blown past it.
Yeah.
But let's see how high we can get this. Let's make Joe Biden jealous of this podcast today. Okay. So we've talked about how he gestures up to tell them to move the teleprompter script. We've shown how he's telling them to put that back on, right? Let's put up image number 1 again, just for anyone just joining. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is here. He has a teleprompter in his basement studio. It's
right over there,
you can see it.
To the right. It's on the
to the right. It's not a conspiracy theory, but he's using it during live interviews. This is a Ron Burgundy moment for sure. He's having a conversation with Bernie Sanders. I believe it was right after Bernie Sanders endorsed him. Big live stream. Everyone's watching. And Joe Biden. Well, we'll play the tape. Let's play cut 9.
Well, I will make an education that, in fact, Jill, my wife, is a professor at a community college.
I will make an educator. He looked directly into the teleprompter, and whether that was written or not, the words that came out of his mouth was, I will make an educator.
Yeah. The guy doesn't make any sense. He doesn't make any sense.
He doesn't.
We are dealing with maybe it's something in the water for Democrats. Maybe it is. Maybe we're dealing with just maybe the invasion of aliens has already happened, and we
can't go too far into
conspiracy. They've come out as loony leftists. I don't know, Max. I'm trying to come up with a reason. Come on, give me something to go with here.
Well,
how can people be this stupid?
The easiest explanation is that he is literally a puppet. He's literally a puppet. He does not talk for himself. He does not think for himself. His platform was written by Bernie Sanders supporters. He's not literally a marionette, but they're just feeding him what to say. He didn't write his platform.
Evan, cut it out.
He didn't write his speeches. He didn't write the answers to his questions. There shouldn't even be written answers to verbal questions. He's not actually doing the thinking, which is why the big question is, if he's elected, who's going to be doing the governing? If he can't think for himself and he can't talk for himself, then he sure as hell can't govern the country. Is it going to be Kamala Harris? Does anyone really think that if he and Kamala Harris get in the same room, he's going to win that argument against her? No, of course not. He's not going to actually run the country. He's not capable of it.
So who runs the country then,
answer
Max?
Question.
Who runs the country? Guys, if you're not listening to this, who runs the country? Who runs the country? Let's just say
Donald
what it
Trump
is.
said it was shadowy people, and he was called a conspiracy theorist for saying it. I don't know.
But he's there.
I don't know who.
He's there. He's in it right now.
Yeah.
He sees it every day. People are like, he can't get along with people. Look, I can't get along with people, too, that just want to walk a fine line of creating chaos. I can't. And there are times in business that we walk into businesses and we're having conversations with their teams at the executive level, and I look over at our team and I go, we should not be here.
Yeah.
Nothing good is going to come of us being here through this. And they look at me and go, you see it too. And I'm like, yeah, this team does not want to be successful. This team does not want to move things forward. There's an underlying agenda that we can't see. It's bad to get involved in this environment. So we have to do it on the business side. Imagine what happens on the government side when people are looking for self-interest. Guys, yesterday I said the average government employee makes 17% more than the private sector, and they work 12 to 14% less than people in the private sector. Their benefits are literally 200% better than anyone else out there. And by the way, you get to pay for that. You get to pay for those pensions. You get to pay for all those entitlements. I mean, it's not just Congress anymore. It's if you come to work for the government, you come to work for our big fat self, right? You get these benefits too. While we basically and look, if I'm lying, I'm dying. If I'm lying, I'm dying. If it's not true, then why did big business get a holiday? And hey, during COVID, just go to.
Listen, I don't want to do too big of a because we talked about this yesterday.
I'm swinging away from it
because we do have a lot of cuts of Joe Biden making himself look very foolish.
All right, give me some more.
That we gotta get through.
Give me some more.
Okay, so this next one is Joe Biden is on a conference call, a Zoom call with 3 other people. And it's very obvious that he's reading. Whenever very coherent messages come out of Joe Biden's mouth, it's very obvious that he's not the one actually doing the thinking behind them.
Right.
So let's go ahead and play cut 10.
Fourth, you need premium pay. Congress has to pass a comprehensive premium pay plan.
Squinting?
Heroism now, not yesterday. We needed yesterday. I unveiled a plan to strengthen our caring economy.
Do you see how he's reading? Can you notice how he's reading?
Yeah.
He has the same tells where he sits up, he's squinting, he's kind of leaning a little bit, but the cadence is someone who's reading. It's not actually what you're saying, what you're talking. It's not coming from the heart. It's not organic. He's reading, and you can tell from his cadence. You can tell from the tone of voice. The other tells where he's sitting up and he speeds up really quickly for the easy words, and he slows down for the harder thinking words. You can tell. You can just tell that he is on teleprompter. Dan says, especially when he talks fast. Yes, you can definitely tell because it's like he's like, oh wow, this is an easy sentence. I'm going to breeze through this one. You can tell. This one to me was one of the biggest giveaways. It was after the Tara Reade accusations. When Joe Biden gave his big response, he used a teleprompter to do it. Let's go ahead and play cut 11.
Nothing ever happened with Tara Reade. Believing women means taking a woman's claim seriously when she steps forward and then vetting it, looking into it. And that's true. That's true in this case, too. Women have a right to be heard.
Well, let's talk about Kavanaugh.
The press should rigorously investigate claims like these. I'll always uphold that principle. But in the end, in every case, the truth is what matters. And in this case, the truth is these claims are flat out false.
So, a couple things I want to say about that. Everyone, hit the share button. Please, if you haven't already, we're peaking just below 900 people watching at the same time. If you haven't already, hit the share button.
It was 4,000, but Facebook doesn't like us very much.
Hit that share button. So a couple things I want to talk about this one. You can tell that he's reading because while he's reading, he has a moment where he's responding to what he just read. Donald Trump does this during his rallies, and he's completely, he doesn't pretend that he's not on a teleprompter. He's looking at a teleprompter, and he'll look at the audience and say, yeah, that's true, right? He's like, yeah, that's true. And he goes on a little tangent agreeing with what he just read. Joe Biden is reading. He takes a step back and he says, yeah, it's true. That's absolutely true. Where he's responding to the other writing. You don't say that to congratulate yourself, right? It's just not how people talk.
Right.
And then you see he gets back into it, back into the cadence, back into the squinting, back into the kind of leaning around, and back into the reading. I want to play that one more time. Pay attention for that that kind of aside where he mentions, yeah, that's true, in a completely different tone of voice, different cadence, because he's actually saying that as opposed to reading the rest. Let's play that again, cut 11.
Nothing ever happened with Tara Reade. Believing women means taking a woman's claim seriously when she steps forward and then vetting it, looking into it. And that's true. That's true in this case, too. Women have a right to be heard, and the press should rigorously investigate claims like these. I'll always uphold that principle, but in the end, in every case, the truth is what matters. And in this case, the truth is these claims are flat out false.
So the other part, you saw the lean, you saw how the different cadences of it. He's also using his finger, where he's giving an address the way you're taught to give a speech, which is to use hand movements, right, to point, to accentuate individual words. And you can see that his hand at the bottom of the frame. You don't do that when you talk to someone. If you're having an honest conversation, Joe, I'm not here talking with my hands. I'm just talking. I'm explaining to you what I think about this. He's there talking because that's what you're trained to do if you're giving a big, important speech. Because he's reading a speech. He's not actually saying what he feels. He's just reading a speech. And that was his big response for Tara Reid, the woman that he is accused of, I don't want to say the word, I don't want to get throttled by Facebook, violating. We'll keep it PG. His big response to those allegations was on teleprompter during a live television interview. They're feeding him his lines during an interview. He is not just using a teleprompter for his big speeches, he's using them for his live interviews. There is not a single thing, and you can tell when Joe Biden's off teleprompter because he becomes a complete and total mess. But I want to replay that because I zoomed in again on his eyes, and I think this is a little bit easier to tell. Everyone, if you're watching this, make sure you put this full screen because it's going to be very hard, but you can notice it's very subtle. His eyes going left to right as he's reading. Let's go ahead and play cut 14.
Nothing ever happened with Tara Reid. Believing women means taking a woman's claim seriously when she steps forward and then vetting it, looking into it. And that's true. That's true in this case, too. Women have a right to be heard, and the press should rigorously investigate claims like these. I'll always uphold that principle, but in the end, in every case, the truth is what matters. And in this case, the truth is these claims are flat out false.
I see it. I see it.
Let me know in the comment sections whether you see what I'm talking about. It's very, very subtle. You kind of have to look at his right eye. That's where it's most pronounced. It would be, you'd be looking at it, it'd be the eye on your left as you're looking at it, but it'd be his right. We're going to play that again, but leave in the comment section whether you see what I'm seeing, whether you see the eye movement.
And you know why we're talking.
Listen,
you know why we're talking about this? It's not. This is not petty. This actually goes to a bigger issue, right? This is the problem. The symptom is that he uses a teleprompter. The problem is he uses a teleprompter. And when we say he uses a teleprompter, he's using a teleprompter, which means someone else is feeding him information. Someone else is doing the thinking for him. If Joe Biden becomes president, who is going to run our country? And are you stupid enough? Yeah, who's going to be doing the thinking for him? And even there, what is going to happen with all the things that have actually gone well in this country over the last 4 years? What do you think is going to happen to the stock market if he wins the election? I can tell you what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen? It's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
It's going to fall apart. We are literally going to lose our country this year. So somebody said earlier that that they're going to go vote and they're going to vote in person. I'm going to tell everyone here now, become an advocate, get your neighbors to go vote in person. And your loved ones, if they're in old folks' home, do something to pick up that ballot from them, right? Pick up the ballot from them. Don't let somebody harvest that ballot and either throw it away because it's not aligning with them or fill it out themselves. Be an advocate in your community because, frankly, if you're not an advocate and you're not actually doing these things, we're in big trouble already. Big trouble.
So Selena says she could see it even when it wasn't zoomed in. You've got eagle eyes, Selena. Lots of people saying that they can see it. I want to play it again just in case. There are a couple people that said they couldn't see it. I want to play that again, and I want you to watch his eyes. Specifically, watch his right pupil. It'll be, if you're looking at it straight on, it'll be the eye on your left, his right. Watch it, and watch how it just left to right, because the reason for that is he's reading text left to right. I'm very pronounced doing this right now. The closer you are to a teleprompter, the more pronounced the eye movement is. The farther away, the less pronounced it is. Watch it. We're going to play it again. Watch for his right eye, the eye on your left as you look at it. Let's play that again. Cut 14.
Nothing ever happened with Tara Reid. Believing women means taking a woman's claim seriously when she steps forward and then vetting it, looking into it. And that's true. That's true in this case, too. Women have a right to be heard, and the press should rigorously investigate claims like these. I'll always uphold that principle. But in the end, in every case, the truth is what matters. And in this case, the truth is these claims are flat out false.
I think it's very obvious. Most people in the comment section say they can see it. It's definitely easier to see when you zoom in. And I challenge anyone, if you're watching a Joe Biden speech or an interview, zoom in on his eyes. And the eyes do not lie. When you're on a teleprompter, unless you're very far away, which he can't do because his eyesight, he's older, which is fine. People, their eyesight gets worse as they age. He can't be far away from a teleprompter, far enough for you not to be able to notice. So look next time you watch one of his cuts. I think it's obvious, Joe. Do you think it's obvious?
I think even if it wasn't obvious, even if we had to scan into it and we actually could see the teleprompter, in their eye, if we actually blew it up and it was in 4K, we blew it up and we actually saw the teleprompter, I still would not say that that's the biggest detail that we should be paying attention to. The detail we should be paying attention to is when he's going, hey, move that up, or when he says top line.
Well, that's the,
Right? I mean, there's so many other opportunities for us to see that when he is not on a teleprompter, he actually cannot articulate anything that he's thinking, or that he jumps from one subject to the next. I want ice cream, and my dog has to go to the bathroom, and I don't want to. I feel like that's what we're doing. I feel like every time he talks,
the reason I showed
it's a new Anchorman series, right? That we could actually just add it to the next thing that he's doing, right?
I basically just went into the vault of all of the links that I've been saved up because we've been preparing for this for a long time, and this week, him reading the instructions right from the teleprompter is just too much to bear. I've been saving this up. The reason I played that is because we can tell when he's doing his pre-produced, where it's Joe Biden's live stream. Right. We know that he's doing a teleprompter then. This was a live television interview responding to credible accusations of assault, a certain kind of assault that we can't say the word because Facebook will throttle us, from a certain woman that we're not allowed to mention the name of because they'll throttle us. It was a live television interview, and he's still being fed the answer. He can't actually answer from the heart. He has to be told to say it didn't happen. He can't be trusted to go out there and give a real response.
All right, so let's go through this again, because Brian thinks that how many times are you going to keep going and replaying the same thing over and over again? I'm not surprised that you've reached into your bag of tricks to come up with the nonsense. As far as I'm concerned, Joe Biden is not the best choice to lead our country. But what you're doing here is wholly disgusting and despicable. No, what is despicable is the fact that the Democrats want to destroy everything we stand for as a country. So, Brian, I'm going to let you stay because the rest of the people listening will take care of you for us. No, yes, you are. Leave them alone.
I might not.
Executive privilege. I'm telling you right now.
Okay, everyone, you can go ahead and tell him how you feel about his comment.
What's disgusting is the fact that. What's disgusting is that we even have to have a conversation about this. What's disgusting is that this is the best candidate that Democrats can put forward. What's disgusting is that they want to run a circus and let people loot and burn down buildings and destroy their communities, while people in their business, hardworking people on both sides, liberals, conservatives, it doesn't matter. Their communities are burning to the ground. And those people that have never even owned a gun, they're like, yeah, I don't need a gun. Now we're running to the store saying, give me as much ammunition as possible and I need a gun. You want to know why? Because you have despicable leadership on the Democrats. They're despicable. And this is just another example.
Let me read a couple of comments from our YouTube stream because I haven't been pulling that up. I've been using the list of our cuts so I stay on topic. A couple people jumped over to YouTube because Facebook was freezing up for them. Richard says he agrees with Joe Otto. Trolls are good. Help us make our points easier. I agree with that, but we 100%. Do ultimately ban the trolls.
No, do not ban them. Exit to the left. Exit to the left, Brian. That was the best one.
John says Facebook kept freezing up, so it got off. Your numbers would be way over 1,000 concurrent streamers. Yes, they probably would. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. And if you're on Facebook, make sure you like, comment, and share. Share is very important so we can get this in front of more people. What else?
Look, we know that Facebook is playing games. We know because the downloads that we have are in the tens of thousands every day. So, but we know that they're going to play games with us, right? And by the way, if you haven't been paying attention, Facebook just changed their terms of service that is effective October 1st. That basically says that they can ban and do whatever they want if it protects their interests, right? So I think that the legal argument for this is going to become very difficult for them because they're a publicly traded company, right? And so banning people and banning messages and doing what they're doing now, which is throttling and becoming a weapon of technology against conservatives, I think that's going to become very problematic for them. And I would not be surprised, we're going to get involved in it, but I would not be surprised if there was thousands of lawsuits that started to creep up on them. And I think that's why they changed the term of service.
I don't want to get into too much of the weeds about what we've had shows on. If you want, go back to our previous shows talking about the difference between a platform and a publisher. Facebook cannot be a platform if they're going to take things off simply because they feel that it might open them up for liability. That is not what the law allows. That makes them a publisher, not a platform. But we're not going to go too far into that. We've done other episodes about that. I do have another cut. And this one I included. It's not the best example, but it does show that Joe Biden's reading and he accidentally says the wrong thing. So let's go ahead and play cut 12.
Social distancing and wearing masks, which I never do when I walk outside of this house. I never fail to do. Now, one day,
notice the squinting.
On day one, I'm going to send the legislative immigration reform bill to Congress to provide a roadmap to citizenship for 11 million undocumented immigrants.
So I wanted to let him roll out just so we can make sure everyone.
First, he says he never wears it, and he's like, "I never fail to do it." I mean, the guy can't. I mean, he literally is a fodder of just anchorman spots. Sorry.
The important part there is that he's supposed to say on day one, but he accidentally says one day, and instead of just shrugging it off, he then has to go back and say on day one because he's reading it and he read it wrong. That is not a live interview, but it is. I mean, it is a live interview where he's talking to people, but it's one of his basement. I guess that was in his kitchen. His in-home interviews. It's just another example of how he is using the teleprompter during live discussions where he's trying to come across as organic and speaking from the heart, but there's someone else pulling the strings, talking for him. I think it's very obvious, and unfortunately, he's going to keep doing it. And the mainstream media won't show you what he's doing. They're going to cut up his clips into the most coherent sentences that they can find, and they'll air that on CNN, MSNBC, and all the mainstream media channels. That's why it's so important, if you haven't already, hit the share button, because we just went through months of worth of footage showing that Joe Biden is using a teleprompter during his live interviews, different than big speeches. So hit the share button if you haven't already. Any final words, Joe, as we wrap up?
Can we turn on the teleprompter? Maybe I'll have a final word I can actually coherently say. No, listen, there is a clear choice. You know, I was in church on Sunday, and the pastor stood up and said, look, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I'm just going to tell you that you need to vote. So the good news is that there are lots of organizations out there that are prompting people that maybe haven't voted before to vote. But more importantly, there is a clear choice. There is a clear choice whether you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, whether you're liberal or you're conservative, to protect the values of this country. And that is not Joe Biden. And what should scare the death out of you is the fact that someone like Joe Biden and someone like Kamala Harris, who is aligning with Joe Biden, is being supported by people on like Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid and some of these others. It should scare you. It should make you wonder, like, what are we up against? Like, what are they actually trying to do to us as a people? It should. And we're seeing a shift in our country. And if we don't stand and take a stand, again, and I'm going to say Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. Take a stand. I actually want classical Democrats to come out and
classical liberals.
Classical liberals, excuse me, to come out and actually stand up and say, look, I can't stand for any of this. And you're starting to see it. And you're starting to see minorities come out in droves and say, look, I can't vote for this guy. He's an empty shell. But more importantly, can't vote for the ideologies that the Democrats represent, because it's pure evil. It's absolutely pure evil.
Yeah. I want to say two things. First of all, USMC veteran on YouTube says Joe Otto for president, Otto McGuire 2024. I'd vote for that ticket.
Boom, let's
absolutely. Vote for that ticket, absolutely. But I just want to reiterate and close with, if Joe Biden needs to have his words fed to him to have an honest conversation and say that he did not assault a woman, if he needs to have the words fed to him to tell him what to say in these very intimate basement interviews, if he has to have the words fed to him to tell him what to say on live television interviews, What do you think he's going to need to have done if he's sitting behind the Resolute desk? If he cannot speak from the heart and actually tell you what he feels when he's just him and a camera in his basement.
No authenticity.
Does anyone really think he's going to be running the country? I don't.
Too scary.
I don't. And Trump, for all his faults, he at least is able to tell you what he's thinking. And that's probably in sometimes one of his faults. But he can tell you what he's thinking. He doesn't need someone to tell him what to say in every single moment of the campaign.
So, Adam, I'm going to say this because we have some listeners in Australia. It says, "Good day." Try to do it in my Australian voice. "Good day. I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and I've been keeping track of what's." I don't know. It's not doing very well. Keeping track of what's happening with Trump and Biden.
You started like going into Scottish.
Let me finish. "Good day, mate." I got that part. Okay. Oh. "I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and I've been keeping track of what's happening with Trump versus Biden, and I can't believe it's even a question of who would vote for. It's dumbfounding." I'm talking to people all over the world, and they're all saying the same thing. Like, who in the world would vote for Biden? Like, I would take 500 Trumps. Yeah, people saying that.
And I'll say that Australia, what Australia is going through, they're going through the strictest lockdowns that you've ever seen, saying that you're not allowed to go more than 5 kilometers from your home. You're only allowed to go shopping one person in your household per day. You're only allowed to exercise outside for 1 hour, and no one's allowed outside, I think, between the hours of 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. That is a modern democracy. It looks more like Soviet Russia. So that is what you also get if you vote for Joe Biden, because he has said unapologetically that if the scientists start whispering in his ear that it's time to shut the entire country down, something Donald Trump didn't do, that he would happily do it. So we're making fun of Joe Biden for needing a teleprompter to just speak from the heart in very simple circumstances. But at the end of the day, when he actually wasn't on prompter, he did say, and this is true, that if the scientists told him to, he would shut down the entire country for a respiratory virus, of which we're not allowed to tell you the percentage survival rate because Facebook will ban us. Well, that's going to be it for this edition of the podcast. Remember that if you like the podcast and it's first time watching us, make sure that you like and follow our Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications on YouTube. You can also look in the description to be able to find the audio version of our podcast and subscribe. You can find it on the Google Play Store. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Podbean, all different places where you can subscribe to the audio version. So if you can't watch us live,
everywhere.
You can listen to it as you go about your day. If you're listening to the audio version, make sure you check out our Facebook page and our YouTube page so you can watch the live stream. We go live Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern every weekday. We also have a link for you to sign up for our email newsletter. It's just a matter of time before Facebook drops the hammer on us. Sign up for the email newsletter, get our action alerts to tell you what's going on in Washington that needs your attention. And that's what we're going to use if and when Facebook drops the hammer and we have to take this show elsewhere. So that's going to be the way that we communicate if that happens. We're also on Parler. Follow us at Conservative Daily, all one word. Be happy to follow you back. I think I hit everything. So that's it for this edition of the podcast. Again, my name is Max McGuire.
And this is Joe Otto.
And remember that the fight to take back our country clearly isn't over, but the only way we win is if we all stand up and fight together.